So, at the beginning of the preface of the book called Trust in Mind, which I'll leave a reference to in the description of this video, the author, Mu Soeng, says, the poem Xinxin Ming, here translated as Trust in Mind, is one of the most beloved texts of the Zen tradition and one of the most familiar of the early Zen texts. Its first line, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences," is celebrated in Chinese literature. Well, at the end of this book, what he does, which is really amazing and fantastic, is he gives 10 different translations of this famous poem. And what I want to do in this video is to read the 4th and 5th paragraphs of each of the 10 translations so that you can hear the meaning and also how it is interpreted and perceived by the different translators as they frame it in the English language. And in each of these, I'll give the title as translated by the translator and also the name of the translator, as well as reciting those 4th and 5th paragraphs. Number 1, Faith in Mind, the Clark translation. The way is perfect like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Live neither in the entanglements of outer things nor in inner feelings of emptiness. Be serene in the oneness of things, and such erroneous views will disappear by themselves. Then we have Inscribed on the Believing Mind, which is the Suzuki translation. The way is perfect like unto space, with nothing wanting, nothing superfluous. It is indeed due to making choice that its suchness is lost sight of. Pursue not the outer entanglements, dwell not in the inner void. When the mind rests serene in the oneness of things, the dualism vanishes by itself. Then we have On Trust in the Heart, which is the Whaley translation. It is blank and featureless as space. It has no too little or too much. Only because we take and reject does it seem to us not to be so. Do not chase after entanglements as though they were real things. Do not try to drive pain away by pretending that it is not real. Pain, if you seek serenity and oneness, will vanish of its own accord. And then the Blythe translation is titled The Believing Mind. Perfect like great space, the way has nothing lacking, nothing in excess. Truly, because of our accepting and rejecting, we have not the suchness of things. Neither follow after nor dwell with the doctrine of the void. If the mind is at peace, these wrong views disappear of themselves. And then, number 5, called Have Faith in Your Mind, which is the Lu translation. Perfect like the great void, it lacks nothing and has naught in excess. If you discriminate, you will miss its suchness. To external causes cling not. Stay not in the void that is relative. If you can be impartial, differentiation ceases. And then the Sheng Yen translation called The Believing Mind. The way is perfect like great space, without lack, without excess. Because of grasping and rejecting, you cannot attain it. Do not pursue conditioned existence. Do not abide in acceptance of emptiness. In oneness and equality, confusion vanishes by itself. Number 7, the Dusan Pajin translation called Inscription on Faith in Mind. Complete it is like great vacuity, with nothing lacking, nothing in excess. When you grasp and reject, there is no suchness. Do not follow conditions. Do not dwell in emptiness. Cherishing oneness with the hearth, everything will stop by itself. Number 8 is the Lombardo translation, which he entitles Trust in Mind. It is like vast space, nothing missing, nothing extra. If you choose or reject, you cannot see things as they are. Outside, don't get tangled in things. Inside, don't get lost in emptiness. Be still and become one, and it all stops by itself. And a Song of Enlightenment, translated by Dunn and Jordan. The great way is empty, like vast sky. Silence the busy mind, and know this perfection. Be seduced neither by the outer world, nor by your inner emptiness. Reside in the oneness of things, where distinctions are meaningless. And then finally, the Zen Buddhist order of Su-yun translation, called Gatha of Sengcan. The Buddha mind is perfect, and it encompasses the universe. It lacks nothing and has nothing in excess. If you think that you can choose between its parts, you'll miss its very essence. Don't cling to externals, the things that exist as relative. Accept them all impartially, and you won't have to waste time in pointless choosing. Now, I'm just going to step back here and encourage you, if you get hold of one or another of these translations, to read it from the standpoint of this particular issue that I've been having some dialogue on with a friend of mine, in terms of the fact that, or at least it seems to us to be a fact, that in the West, there's a great deal of emphasis in Buddhist teachings on the notion of emptiness. No question about it, I guess, particularly when you look at the Prajnaparamita Sutras and the Perfection of Wisdom. But actually, if you dig deep into those Prajnaparamita Sutras, the important point in some ways is, yes, they bang home the idea that ultimately everything is empty, or śūnyatā. And it's empty in the sense that no thing has a totally independent existence. Now, to my mind, I think of the flip side of that as being suchness, which is the experience of here and now reality. But let's just take the notion of emptiness or voidness for a moment. What we would perhaps assert, my friend and I, as we've been discussing this, and we both agree on the point, is that if you read deeply into the Prajnaparamita Sutras or any of these deeper kinds of Zen or Chan teachings, and again, I think you would find this perhaps in these poems, is that the bottom line being, emptiness is also empty. In other words, that it's important not to get hung up on the idea of the void or emptiness, because, that carries with it the risk that, a person might have a more nihilistic kind of view. Nothing exists. Or the idea that nothing matters. So these are notions that we would assert are problematical if the practitioner, if the person trying to learn about Buddhism doesn't take it to the next step beyond emptiness. Now, again, it's understandable that emptiness is emphasized. Why? Because our natural tendency with our dualistic thinking mind is to break things down into this versus that. And in particular, to view ourselves as a separate entity. Very difficult to get this notion that there's what I think of as a mysterious interconnectedness. Okay? And it's that interconnected reality that I think this section of these poems is talking about as the oneness. Now, it doesn't mean, on the other hand, that in Buddhism we think of all being one. In other words, there is, at a certain level, a kind of individuation or differentiation. But again, the point is non-duality. Neither emptiness nor non-emptiness. Neither existence nor non-existence. Neither differentiation nor total oneness or unity. So again, these are important things to ponder. And I think this poem, if you read the whole thing, it really does help to challenge the mind as we talk about trust in mind, and to challenge us to contemplate and reflect on the nature of reality, and in particular, the nature of our own self. Who am I? What am I? How do I think of myself? And if we really get down to the nitty-gritty, there is no sort of ongoing, continuous, separate person called John. And I will just end with what I think was a very neat kind of, almost you'd call it a mantra that I heard from one of the Buddhist monks on one of the podcasts, where what he says to himself is, not me, not mine. Not I, not me, not mine. And if we think of that as being fundamentally real, then we can maybe train ourselves to actually then go the next step to the effect that I'm neither real nor not real. And so, that's the thing that the human mind, given that we think in dualistic terms, can't really grasp.